Hello again, this is Ty Warner with KISSsoft. I want to talk to you today about the load spectrum in shafts module. And we'd probably use a load spectrum if we knew that we had differing loads on bearings and shafts, etc. And we can define these, and I'm going to show you the difference in a calculation. So I have a simply identified coaxial shaft that's acting as a pulley with a belt force upon it. You can see I have two shafts, shaft 1 in the center, shaft 2 as the outer acting as a pulley body, and then we have our force, which is a belt force and a connecting roller bearing. The belt force we've defined as 250 pounds force. There is no power associated with this. We're basically just pulling this pulley body supported by this connecting bearing at 250 pounds force. We don't have any load spectrum at this point. It says in own input, however in our basic data we're not considering that load spectra. The gears are mounted by interference fit, and we're going to get the roller service life from inner geometry. Our grease is an Arcanel multi-top. We're going to consider weight, and we're requiring a 1,000-hour service life. Now when you specify 1,000 hours here, and say you make 1,200 hours, but you don't modify the roller bearing required service life here, you'll get a warning, okay? So go ahead and go to your module-specific settings, modify this to 1,000 hours, and then in your calculation method, we're going to start with SKF 2013. So here's our basic data. We run this, and we get a warning. Okay, the SKF catalog does not provide details for this calculation, which is your flow losses. All right, hit OK, and it tells us the required service life is not achieved. It also tells us the safe operating speed could be critical, and it tells us here we should run the thermally safe operating speed. So we can see we have our bearing forces, and we have our base 10 life calculation here, 665 hours. Okay. What we want to do is we want to consider now a load spectrum where we know that 50% of the time we're running at 250 pounds of force and 50% of the times we're running at 100 pounds of force. So we go ahead and select consider load spectra. We go to our shaft editor. We click on our bearing. We go to the bottom. Sorry, we click on our belt. We're going to vary the load force of the belt. And we can see we have our load spectrum for belt force set as own input. We're not changing anything for the power because we have zero power going through this. We assume there's some decent friction here that's not pulling our power out in here and adding additional loads. There probably is, but I don't know what that is, so I'm not going to change this load spectrum. For our own input, we need to specify what those are, so we hit the plus button right here, and it pulls up this define load spectrum window. For 100 pound force, that's a 0.4 versus the 250 pound, and then 50% of the time we're at 250 pounds. The speed doesn't change, okay? And the temperature doesn't change. We're going to say this is how we're running this. And we hit OK. We verify now we're considering load spectra. Nothing here in our strength changes. We haven't run this yet, but we're going to go ahead now and run the basic calculation. It still tells us the flow losses for this SKF catalog do not provide the details for the calculation. And it tells us the thermally safe operating speed could be critical. Now you can see that our minimum bearing service life is 1,250 hours. If we go to our thermally safe operating speed, we run this calculation, and it says 6,100, almost 6,200 RPM is our thermally safe operating speed. Okay. Now this may or may not be a problem if you've tested the bearings and they last. This could be conservative. you probably need to look at the reference speed of the bearing in the calculation, or talk to SKF or whoever you're buying your bearings from directly and verify that those are indeed the safe operating speeds. If you didn't want to see that and you wanted to include those bearing frictions, what we would do is we'd change this module specific setting from the SKF to the Scheffler catalog, okay? And then we'd run this again. We get the same 1250 hours. We don't have any of the other warnings that we saw before. So depending on how you're running your bearings and how you're calculating them, you could get warnings or not, or no warnings. But you can see it's pretty easy to set your load spectrum based on the forces right here. And you can see it made a huge difference in the life of the bearing, almost double. So I'm Ty Warner with KISSsoft. If you are interested in more information, please go to our website, www.kisssoft.com. You can request a test license. It's a 30-day full version free test license. You can use the software, evaluate it, and if you have questions, you can contact us through the website, or you can email me directly at ty.warner, WARNER, @kisssoft.com. Thanks for watching.